Hi, this is Diane with Phil's Virtual Sewing Club. Today I'm going to show you some of the features on this beautiful machine, the Pfaff Quilt Expression 720. I was in Phil's the other day and I decided that I was going to try out a Pfaff for the first time. And wow, was I pleasantly surprised when I walked out with this Pfaff machine. So today I'm going to show you some of the features that I thought were totally fabulous with it, and then we're gonna go into some of the stitching capabilities of this machine. Okay, first off, I wanted to show you that one of the main reasons that a customer would buy this machine right here is because of the IDT system. This is it's similar to like a walking foot would do for you, but it's an IDT system, and Pfaff has a patent on this, and it's, you know, they started with this about 45 years ago, somewhere in that neighborhood. Okay, so that's right back in this area here. Okay, that's where it connects and disconnects from the foot. Right here, I'm going to take off the foot and just show you what this foot looks like when the IDT system is activated. This here foot has an opening in the back right here. Okay, and that's where the IDT system connects to it. With the IDT system, you get great feeding on your top layer of your fabric as well as on your bottom layer, because it's utilizing the feed dogs, and also they call this the feed dogs on the top for the top layer. Okay, now with this machine you also get 10 presser feet that come with the machine. You know, of course there's additional presser feet that you can purchase after you get into the machine and you discover what your likes are and what you like to do, and you may want to expand some of your feet as well. And of course Larry and Annette at Phil's, you know, can set you in the right direction there. Okay, now another thing that this machine has is a great space from this area of the machine over to the foot area. That's like 10 inches, so that's a wonderful space, you know, that you can, you know, roll up your quilts and get that in there so that you can work with your quilts or any large item that you might be working with. And up in here as well, you know, so you're working on these large quilts. It has a light right under here, shines down right on your work area, and then there's also LED lights that are right over in this area up here that shine down. So this is great lighting for any project that you might work on as well. Next thing we're going to get into is I'm going to show you how to thread the machine and how to do a bobbin or wind a bobbin. So right up in here, I've already put my thread on here. I'm going to grab hold of the end, okay, and I'm going to start threading it for the bobbin winding. Okay, so I'm going to come around here, lots of guides to follow, and this is all well documented and shown in the instruction manual, so you might want to refer to the instruction manual as well if you know, you run into some kind of a problem. You also get like a little caddy that'll hold your feet and also your bobbins and any other accessories that you want to you know, store within the machine itself. These here bobbins, I'm going to pull one out here and show this to you. They are specific to this machine right here. It's got the Pfaff logo. I don't know if you can see that right here, but I'm going to turn it over just slightly. Inside that bobbin, there's a little channel, okay, that helps when you're winding this bobbin. Okay, and the bobbin thread, I don't know if you see, but anyway, right here is where that channel is. So you're going to wind your bobbin, feed your thread through the hole, which is right there, okay, through it, and then attach it to the little bobbin winding jig. So here we go. We're going to thread this up, and I got a little tail on it, so I'm going to trim that tail away. Makes it easier for threading the bobbin. And then we're going to go up and over. If I can get this down. Helps if I can see what I'm doing here. Okay, so make sure it's in your guide. Click it in place right there, and then push this lever over. or actually the bobbin goes over. Right up here, it shows you the speed on the machine itself. So if you want a little slower speed or faster speed, you can make those adjustments right here by going like that. Okay, so now I'm just starting winding. I want to stop it and clip that thread off there, and then continue winding the bobbin. Of course, when I do it, I like to speed up my machine a little bit here to wind those bobbins a little bit faster. Okay. You can also use, if you wanted to use pre-wound bobbins, the L-class bobbin is a good choice, you know, that you can utilize too if you don't want to wind your bobbin threads all the time. And it gives a real good stitch quality as well. And it'll stop, it'll pop when it's completed. And it slows up ever so slightly. Okay, we're going to say that's full enough. Okay, take the bobbin. Now, another cool thing about this is it's a drop-in bobbin. Okay, this little bobbin case has a little magnifying glass right there. So, I mean, if you need to thread your machine and are having a hard time threading it by hand or whatever, you can put it up there and it actually show, or, you know, magnifies that needle. Okay, so I'm going to just pop it in here. And I always want to make sure that the wording is on the top. So once I pop that in there, if you try to put it in there any other way with the reverse or turned upside down, it won't set in this bobbin case at all. Very nice. So now you're going to just go ahead, and there's a little knife right there, and I'm pulling off my little tail. Next thing I'm going to do, after I just got my bobbin all set, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to thread the machine. Okay, so this is the path that you would take to thread the machine. So you've got the thread, comes over here, connects around this guide, up around here, and then down, catches onto a hook onto the thread guide there, and you come down, and then there's another little thread guide right here that you hook into. And then at that point, after you've done that, then you're going to thread the machine with a needle threader. So I catch it onto the hook here, bring my thread over in front of the needle and raise it up, and then I'm going to pull my thread through. Now what we're going to do is we're going to hop over to this colored display that you see right here in this area. Now we're going to talk a little bit about some of the settings here. The very first setting is your positioning setting. You got the plus and the minus, so that's indicating where you're going to place your design on your garment. Okay. One thing I also want to talk about is in this machine, between this line and this line is 9 millimeters. So you have 9 millimeters of space or area that you can position your design within, or your stitch, I should say. So as you click, it's moving the needle, okay? You have like 37 different positions that stitch can be placed within that 9 millimeter area. So each of these clicks is taking it to a new position. Okay. The center option here, this is adjusting your length of your stitch. Okay. So up, down. Okay. The largest length stitch you can do with this machine is like a 6 millimeter long, and so forth. And one other thing I want to point out is anytime that this area turns green, it indicates that you've made a change to that particular stitch. Okay. And of course the green is there. So if you go back to the default settings, they will be set to the white right there. 2.5 is the length of that stitch. This area over here is adjusting your tensions. So as you make changes over in this area to your length of your stitch, it might adjust your tensions, and that's all going to depend upon you know, your length and so forth, and the type of stitch you're using too. So you can manually adjust your tension, but the nice thing about the Pfaff machines is, you know, it realizes what you're going to, the changes you're making, and it'll adjust your tension automatically. You can see how it's popping back, and there was the default setting. Okay, and here's the stitch length of 4.0. Let's take it up to 6.0, okay, and I'm just going to stitch down the middle as well. Now, another thing on this screen is it also indicates what foot you should be using for that particular stitch. So anytime you switch to a different stitch, that foot may change, and so you may have to be aware of that. And it also shows that the feed dogs and the IDT system is activated at this point in time. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to come down here and I'm going to just sew this here particular stitch so that you can see it. Or my presser foot, press the start button. I'm going to clip, cut my thread, and we're going to take a look at that stitch. This is that 6 length or 6 millimeter long stitch right here. And let's look at the back as well. There's the back of that stitch. And you can see how well that particular stitch did, even at that 6 millimeter length. Okay. Okay, next thing I want to show is you know, some of the functionality that you have over on this side of the screen. Over here, you have your tie down or your tack down, you know, your beginning stitch. If you activate it, it turns green. And remember, if anything that's green, that pretty much says or shows that there's been a change made to that particular stitch. And then we're going to tie it off as well. And then we're going to cut. Okay. So I'm going to come back here and I'm going to take it back to maybe about a 3 millimeter length and go ahead and tap the start button. Notice how it tied it off. And the full action, it ties it off and then cuts it. If you wanted to get into additional stitches, and this particular machine has over 400 stitches, as well as decorative stitches, buttonholes, and so forth and so forth. So, but today, like I said earlier, we're going to cover just the essential stitches that come with the machine at this point in time. Okay. Now, one thing I want to do is I'm going to show you the zigzag stitch. Okay, now with the zigzag stitch, that pops up on the screen, and I want you to realize that what you see is pretty much what you get with the size of that particular stitch. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch out this zigzag stitch. Okay, that's what that zigzag stitch looks like. And I'm going to fold it over, and you can see that it is identical to the stitch that you see up here on the display. Okay. And the back side as well looks just as good as the front side. Now, there are variations that you can do within this as well. So I can increase the width, and that takes it up to 9 millimeters wide. Okay, and then this adjusts the density. Okay, so you can go up or down. Okay, notice how you can make those adjustments as needed. Now, if you notice, there's also a little circle right here, right in between the plus and the minus buttons. There's a little circle, and activating that circle will actually show you how you can move that zigzag, you know, within that 9mm space that this machine allows. See how that moves it about? So, oops, back here again. And to me, this was like a really nice feature in this machine. Okay, how it moves it around. And so, I mean, if you're working on a specific project and you want that design or that their zigzag stitch placed in a certain position, you can actually manipulate it right here. Okay, and there again, your tension is working for you at all times. So if you adjust the tension or move something around, it's going to know that and adjust your tension levels too. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to get into the buttonhole making foot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab hold of my buttonhole maker, and it's stored nice and neat right here behind. It's a little case, and this is how and what this buttonhole foot will do for you. Okay, so based upon the size of your button that you're going to be utilizing, and I'm going to take off. And one thing I also want you to know, how do you get these feet off? You know, you can just press on the front of the foot and it pops the foot up just that easily. Okay, and disengage your IDT system, because making buttonholes, we're not going to use the IDT. Okay, then you're going to snap on the foot right here. Okay, now under the stitching categories as well, I told you about the essential stitches and so forth. If you were to click on this button right here, it gives you sub-menus, and in this area you've got different stitches you can also utilize and activate. The overstitch or overcast stitches, buttonhole stitches, eyelets, and bar tacks and so forth. So over here gets you into some of the decorative stitches and so forth. But we're going to stay right here because we're going to, okay, in here is where we're going to select our buttonholes. So you've got like 10 different buttonholes you can choose from. If you're kind of confused as to which buttonhole should be selected, this is a great feature right here. So I'm going to click on the question mark. And if I click on the first area, what happens is it pops open a screen and describes what that buttonhole is. So this is a compensated closed overlock for patching, sewing hems, and so forth, and overcasting and stretch fabric or stretch fabrics. Okay, so if I click on this particular, oops, wrong place to click, right here, question mark again, click on this particular one, it's for stretch buttonholes. Okay, so you can do this with anything within this field. So if you're not sure what you would use that particular buttonhole for, click on the question mark, click on that particular stitch or buttonhole, and it'll show you what that particular buttonhole would be used for. Okay, so we're going back to the very first buttonhole. Okay, there it is. Everything is attached. We have our 5/8 foot. It also shows up here that it should be stabilized as well. So we want to make sure that we look on our screen to get as much information off the screen as we possibly can. Okay. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to try to determine what size buttonhole we have. So if we're not sure what size button we're working with, we could also use this measuring aid right up here at the top. Right over here, it shows in millimeters and also in inches the size. So if you were to put that buttonhole up there, and it's approximately, I would say about here, get my fat fingers out of the way, and you can see it's approximately 15 millimeters or so, 15, 16 millimeters in size. Okay, so what we're going to do then, so that's 15 or 16 millimeters, and so to change the length of the buttonhole, you're going to make that change right here. Now, I'm actually, it was set for 16. I'm actually going to leave it at 16, okay? This particular setting will adjust the density or the density level of the buttonhole. So we're going to leave it set for the norm, and also, just so you're aware, is the tension. So we're going to let the tension set as is. So back down here to the presser foot area, we want to make sure that everything is lined up properly. If you notice, right here is a little notch. We want to make sure that that arrow is right there at that notch. Okay, I'm going to lower my presser foot, and I think it looks pretty good. And we're going to hit the start button. Okay, so with the start button, it's going to stitch backwards, as you will soon see. So it's going to grab hold of that thread and get it out of the way. Notice how it's doing it in the backward mode again. And the machine is set for that slow mode. We can make adjustments here as well if we want to speed it up. Now, we didn't set this to cut, but we can cut it. And we could have set it to cut too, as long as I would have pressed that button before it stopped stitching. Okay, so here is the buttonhole we just created. So of course you're going to take your little seam ripper and cut a slit in the center right there. So this concludes this video on the basic stitches within the Pfaff Quilt Expression 720. We will be doing additional videos to take you onto a journey into some of the decorative stitchings and also some of the floating and stacking stitches, some of the key features, some additional key features within this machine. So if you have any questions, please visit Larry or Annette at Phil's Sewing in beautiful downtown Washington, Missouri. So until next time.